shooting spree over the weekend in the IE. 2 people were shot and killed outside a shopping center, followed by an off-duty deputy taking out the suspected gunman.
And now News reporter Leticia Juarez is live in Fontana with new details on this story. Leticia.
Well, I'll tell you this, David and Giovanna, we've learned from police that at the time of that shooting, there was plenty of law enforcement in the area, most of them off duty, enjoying the night with their families. But unfortunately, they were unable to do anything about the shooting that took place just outside the Sushi restaurant, telling us that it was a domestic violence situation where a woman in the process of getting a divorce was tracked down by her estranged husband, who then shot her and her date here in this parking lot.
It was just after 9:30 p.m. when the quiet night outside a Fontana sushi restaurant was shattered by the sound of gunfire. Gloria Zamora, fitness coach, motivational speaker, mother of 7, collapsed beside her car, riddled with bullets. Her friend and business partner, Hector Garduno, lay nearby, also struck down. The dinner they'd shared just moments earlier had been routine. The ambush that followed was anything but. The man behind the trigger? Her estranged husband, Thomas Alberto Lizarraga. He didn't run. He didn't hide. And when law enforcement arrived on the scene, he refused to put down his weapon, forcing them to shoot him dead. For Gloria's tens of thousands of followers, the news was devastating and surreal. How could this happen to someone so strong, so self-aware, someone who knew she was in danger and had taken steps to protect herself? The truth is, Gloria wasn't just a fitness influencer. She was a woman in crisis, openly navigating a toxic separation, applying for restraining orders, and pleading for peace on her podcast. But none of it was enough. This is the story of a woman who inspired thousands, but couldn't escape the man who vowed to control her. A mother who spent her life lifting others, only to be gunned down by the one person she tried hardest to leave behind. You're watching Crime Scene Exposed, where we break down the most disturbing real-life crimes and the systems that fail to stop them. Have you ever seen a tragedy like this unfold in your city? Drop your location in the comments. We cover stories from everywhere. Because this isn't just a story about one woman. It's a story about how strength in public doesn't always mean safety in private. Before the headlines, before the sirens, before her name became tied to a crime scene in Fontana, California, Gloria Zamora was something else entirely. She was a daughter of Southern California, a mother of 7, a fighter who rebuilt her life from the ground up, one rep, one post, one podcast episode at a time. Her journey wasn't easy. Gloria didn't start as an influencer or public figure. She began as a local fitness instructor, someone who understood firsthand the struggle of balancing personal transformation with the daily demands of motherhood. Her family was her driving force. 7 children, all at different stages of life, looked to her not just as a parent, but as a symbol of strength, discipline, and care. But Gloria's influence didn't stop at home. She had a mission: to help other women reclaim their bodies, their minds, and their independence. She launched her online fitness brand and built an audience of over 150,000 followers across platforms. Through her Sh0t podcast, she spoke about everything from mental health and self-worth to the pressure of maintaining identity in relationships. She didn't pretend to be perfect, she was real. And that authenticity is what made her magnetic. Gloria talked about stretch marks, about postpartum depression, about starting over in your 30s or 40s when everything feels like it's falling apart. She wasn't just teaching people how to squat or meal prep. She was showing them how to survive, thrive, and rebuild. Those closest to her say she radiated warmth. Her daughter described her as the emotional center of their family, the unconditional love and guidance that held everything together. She created space for others to grow, even when her own life felt unstable behind the scenes. Because while Gloria's followers saw her strength on their screens, what they didn't always see was the fear behind the filters. By early 2025, Gloria had separated from her husband, Thomas Lizarraga. And behind her motivational videos and coaching sessions, she was navigating a much darker reality, one that included threats, intimidation, and a growing sense that she wasn't safe. But still, she kept going. she filed for a restraining order. She opened up publicly about the emotional toll of being in a controlling relationship. In one podcast episode, she described the mental warfare she endured, being criticized for working out, being told she wasn't all that despite everything she'd achieved. And yet, she refused to let that define her. Gloria's life was a daily balancing act, building an empire while shielding her kids, staying empowered while walking on eggshells at home. She knew the risk, she knew the pattern, and she was taking steps to protect herself. But in the end, even strength awareness and a platform weren't enough. Gloria Zamora was more than a fitness coach. She was more than an influencer. She was a woman determined to break generational cycles and to help others do the same. Her story is a heartbreaking reminder that even the strongest among us can be vulnerable behind closed doors. And for her children, her clients, and the women who looked up to her, her absence is a void that can never be filled.
This is for all the women that just love to hate and leave negative comments about any sort of plastic surgery. This is my body after my 4th pregnancy, did not have any work done there. This is my body after my 5th pregnancy, which was a set of twins. I went up to 230 pounds. I remember working extremely hard to lose the baby weight so that I can look and feel good with whatever I wore. Although with clothes it may seem like I didn't need a tummy tuck, I still struggled with not liking how my stomach looked. This is my stomach right before my tummy tuck. This is a date of my surgery with the best plastic surgeon ever, Dr. Omar Jimenez. He delivered exactly what I envisioned for myself. I remember asking him to please give me a cute small belly button, and he gave that to me. This is a video of me a few months post-op. I took care of myself for a full year before going back to the gym. I wore my faja day in and day out. This is me 4 years post-op. I'm still not where I want to be, but I continue to work at it every single day. I did not want to be that person that you get work done, you get comfortable, you let yourself go, you gain all this weight, and then there you go back to get another set of lipo because you just don't take care of yourself. You know, that's something that I was just not gonna do because it's painful, it costs money, it costs time, and I was not gonna do that for myself. So these people to have this concept about the only reason why she looks good is because she had work done. Oh my God, I can tell that she had a tummy tuck because of her belly button. Who gives a shit? I'd rather have a brand new belly button than my old one. You know, in order for you to maintain what you invested for yourself is having a proper diet, working out 4 or 5 times out of the week. Now imagine if you remove excess fat, excess skin, imagine how well you can take your body to the next level, and that's what the gym has done for me. My body does not look near what it looked like after my surgery. My body looks even better, and it's going to continue to look better. So women, stop hating and be a girl's girl. Support each other. I hate that women do not do that.
Thomas Alberto Tamayo Lizarraga wasn't just Gloria Zamora's estranged husband, he was the storm quietly brewing behind her every success. Their relationship started like many others do. In the beginning, it may have seemed like stability, a partner to share life with, someone to build a future alongside. But those who knew Gloria best would later say the relationship shifted quickly. What began as connection turned into control. As her influence grew publicly, things grew darker privately. According to her family and neighbors, Thomas exhibited increasingly possessive and jealous behavior. The more Gloria blossomed coaching clients, appearing on podcasts, growing her platform, the more he tried to cut her down. His tactics weren't always visible. He didn't need fists to inflict harm. His weapons were words, surveillance, and slow isolation. Friends describe his behavior as emotionally abusive. He belittled her appearance, especially her presence on social media. In one of her final podcast episodes, Gloria recounted being told she wasn't all that, mocked for posting fitness content, criticized for daring to love herself in a body that had given birth to 7 children. He attacked her confidence, her independence, and her identity. "You think you're all that," she recalled being told. "You're not even all that. You have all these stretch marks." These weren't just casual arguments. This was emotional warfare, meant to control, to silence, and to break her spirit. As Gloria's discomfort grew, so did the signs. In the spring of 2025, after what her family described as repeated threats and rising tension, Gloria made the difficult decision to leave. The separation wasn't just physical, it was an act of self-preservation. But Thomas wasn't letting go easily. Neighbors in Scottsdale, Arizona, reported hearing frequent arguments in the weeks leading up to her murder. Loud disputes, slamming doors, the sound of a household under siege. Gloria's family later confirmed what the community suspected. She had grown increasingly anxious about her safety. Her fears weren't exaggerated. She wasn't being paranoid. She was being stalked, monitored, tracked, and manipulated by the man she was trying to escape. Despite everything, Gloria did not stay silent. She began subtly speaking out on her platforms, threading her pain into posts that many of her followers may not have fully understood at the time. In one heartbreaking message, she wrote, "With husbands like these, who needs enemies?" It wasn't a joke, it was a warning. She used her Sh0t podcast and Instagram to give voice to the emotional abuse she was experiencing. Without naming names, she described the suffocating experience of trying to grow while someone you love tries to tear you down. She made it clear, it wasn't just about broken communication, it was about psychological harm, masked as love. But still, the legal system moved slowly. She filed for a restraining order in April 2025, citing clear threats and intimidation. A temporary protection order was granted, but only days before her death. It was too little, too late. Gloria's case wasn't just another unhappy marriage. It was a textbook example of coercive control, emotional abuse that escalates once the abuser begins to lose their grip. And in Gloria's case, that loss of control would lead to the unthinkable. She did everything right. She left. She spoke out. She sought protection. But none of it stopped what was coming. By April 2025, Gloria Zamora had reached a breaking point. After months, if not years, of escalating control, verbal abuse, and psychological torment, she made the hardest, most dangerous decision of her life. She left. The separation from her husband, Thomas Lizarraga, was not a quiet exit. It was a declaration of independence and a direct threat to the control he had long exercised over her life. In cases of domestic abuse, it's well documented that the most dangerous time for a victim is not while they stay, but when they try to leave. Gloria understood that risk, but she also knew that staying meant surrendering the peace she had worked so hard to build for herself and her 7 children. She chose courage over comfort and paid a devastating price. After separating, Gloria immediately sought legal protection. She filed for a restraining order against Thomas, citing clear threats and escalating intimidation. She wasn't vague. She told the court that she feared for her safety, that his behavior had grown increasingly aggressive, and that she needed help. The request wasn't taken lightly. A temporary protection order was granted, but it would prove to be little more than paper. Those closest to Gloria said she was on edge in the weeks following the separation. The fear didn't lift with the filing. In fact, it intensified. She grew more anxious, more alert, always watching her surroundings, always worried he would find her. And she was right to be afraid. Her fears weren't hypothetical. They were rooted in a pattern. Neighbors in Scottsdale reported hearing frequent arguments during those final months. Some said the couple's disputes were loud enough to draw attention, even in a community used to keeping to itself. There was shouting, slamming, confrontations that left Gloria feeling unsafe in her own home. She had reached a point where she no longer trusted that she was being listened to or protected. Gloria wasn't just a survivor in silence. She was a woman trying to speak out while still living inside the storm. In one of her final podcast episodes on Sh0t, she spoke candidly about what it felt like to be emotionally unsupported by a partner, without naming names. But anyone paying attention knew exactly who she was talking about.
Instead of you being supportive, you're over here trying to just bring me down, tell me that I can't do this. You think you're all that? You think you're all that for you to go and work out and think that you can be on social media? Come on, man. You're not even all that. Look, you have all these stretch marks. Really? Do you really think you're all that you can do that?
His insecurities are yelling to you.
Yes.
His projection is real.
Yes.
He's trying to bring you down so you don't leave.
Yes.
But what he doesn't understand is that you're pushing me more away. You're making me secure in my decision of leaving.
She quoted his words not to shame herself, but to expose the harm that hides behind closed doors. The way someone can use your insecurities like weapons. The way they make you question your worth, your beauty, and your right to be seen. And in a particularly chilling Instagram post, she wrote, "With husbands like these, who needs enemies?" It read like a punchline, but it wasn't a joke. It was a cry for help. Many of her followers may have scrolled past that post without realizing its weight. But looking back, it feels like a warning left in plain sight, a woman trying to say, "I'm in danger," in the only way she felt safe enough to do. Gloria continued working, continued showing up online, continued filming content and coaching clients, even as she privately told her family that she was afraid. The restraining order hadn't brought peace. It hadn't brought protection. What it had done, unintentionally, was confirm for Thomas that Gloria was serious about leaving. And that made him even more dangerous. It's a grim truth in many cases of intimate partner violence. Legal interventions are only as effective as their enforcement. A temporary restraining order can't physically stop a determined abuser from showing up with a gun. It can't monitor a parking lot. It can't intercept a bullet. On paper, Gloria had done everything right. She left. She documented his threats. She filed the right forms. She asked for help. But systems are slow. And perpetrators are not. Despite the legal order, despite her courage, despite her visibility, Gloria was still being tracked. Still being watched. And the sense of looming danger she carried into every public appearance wasn't paranoia. It was prophecy. Just days after the court granted that protection order, Thomas would find her outside a sushi restaurant in Fontana, California. And in that parking lot, as she wrapped up a business meeting with her longtime friend Hector Garduno, her worst fear became real. But for now, in this part of the story, we sit with the question. What more could she have done? She had already done everything, and it still wasn't enough. On the night of June 22, 2025, Gloria Zamora was doing what she'd always done, pushing forward. Despite the chaos that had shadowed her personal life for months, she was focused on her future. That evening, she met with longtime friend and business partner Hector Garduno to discuss a new venture, another step toward rebuilding her life after the storm. The meeting took place at a sushi restaurant inside the Falcon Ridge Town Center in Fontana, California. By all accounts, it was a casual, low-key dinner, just two hardworking parents discussing possibilities. They spent about an hour inside talking business, life, and the road ahead. The location wasn't chosen at random. According to family members, Gloria had grown increasingly anxious in recent weeks. With a restraining order newly filed against her estranged husband, Thomas Alberto Tamayo Lizarraga, she likely believed that public spaces offered at least a small sense of safety. Crowds, lights, cameras, people. But for determined abusers, none of those things are deterrents. And for Gloria, it wouldn't be enough. At approximately 9:40 p.m., Gloria and Hector left the restaurant and walked toward the parking lot. It was just another summer night in Southern California, warm, ordinary. There was no warning, no time to react. Thomas was already there. Authorities still haven't revealed how he found her that night. There's speculation that he may have tracked her movements, possibly through her phone or vehicle. What is clear, however, is that this wasn't a coincidence. Thomas had come prepared. He was waiting. As Gloria and Hector approached their cars, Thomas stepped out and opened fire. The attack was sudden, violent, and precise. Both Gloria and Hector were shot multiple times, their lives cut short in a matter of seconds. The shots echoed across the shopping center, drawing the attention of bystanders and off-duty law enforcement officers nearby. One of them, a San Bernardino County Sheriff's deputy, was close enough to hear the gunfire. He made a sharp U-turn and arrived at the scene within moments. There, he found Thomas still armed, still holding the weapon he had just used to end 2 lives. According to police, the deputy ordered Thomas to drop his gun. Thomas refused. A standoff followed, brief but tense. And when he didn't comply, the deputy fired. Thomas was fatally shot at the scene. Paramedics arrived quickly and rushed both Gloria and Hector to a nearby hospital. But it was too late. Neither survived. Just like that, 7 children lost their mother. 4 daughters lost their father. And 2 families were left shattered in the span of one night. The parking lot that was supposed to offer safety had become the crime scene of a calculated double murder, one fueled by jealousy, control, and the ultimate act of retaliation. Gloria had seen it coming. She'd taken legal action. She'd spoken out. She'd chosen public places. She'd made all the right moves that survivors are told to make. And still, it hadn't been enough. Thomas Lizarraga didn't just kill Gloria. He made sure it happened on his terms, publicly, violently, and irreversibly. And in doing so, he destroyed 2 lives and traumatized 2 entire families forever.
Bring me down, bring me down.
On Saturday night, the 40-year-old alongside 43-year-old Hector Garduno was shot and killed outside a Fontana sushi restaurant.
There was a male and a female that were estranged. They're going through a divorce that led to this.
Investigators say Zamora's estranged husband, Thomas Alberto Tamayo Lizarraga, gunned down the two in the parking lot.
We don't know how he knew where she was at, but apparently she had been at the restaurant for approximately an hour prior to the shooting.
The shooting caught the attention of several off-duty law enforcement officers in the area who responded to the sound of gunfire, including an off-duty San Bernardino County Sheriff's deputy.
Apparently he was driving on the street outside of the shopping center and heard the gunshots and saw what had happened, made a U-turn at the light, and got out of his vehicle to confront the suspect.
Lizarraga was shot and killed during the confrontation. In a GoFundMe page set up for Zamora, her daughter stated that her mother was murdered by her stepdad. Both victims leave behind children. Zamora, a mother of 7, is described as a woman who uplifted others, while Garduno is remembered as a hardworking and devoted father of 4 girls.
The tragedy left many asking the same question. How was this even possible? Gloria had a protection order. She had a public profile. She had people who cared and communities that followed her journey. But in that moment, none of it could stop a man who refused to let go. This wasn't a crime of passion. It was a premeditated ambush carried out in plain sight, and it ended with the kind of finality that only a gun can guarantee. By morning, headlines were already circulating. Fitness influencer and mother of 7 gunned down in California. Business meeting turns tragic in Fontana shooting. Estranged husband kills wife, business partner before being shot by police. But behind those headlines were people, families, children, lives that would never be the same. And beneath the surface of this horrifying event was a pattern that far too many people recognized: a woman trying to reclaim her life, a man unwilling to let her go, and a system that simply couldn't move fast enough. This wasn't just a murder. It was a message to anyone who thinks leaving is enough. Because for Gloria and Hector, it wasn't. In just a few horrifying minutes, 2 families were torn apart, and 11 children were left without a mother, a father, or any sense of safety. Gloria Zamora's 7 children, ranging in age from 8 to 24, lost the woman who had been their center, their strength, their comfort, their provider. Just days before, Gloria had shared words of pain and resilience on her podcast. Now, her voice was silenced forever. Her eldest daughter, Jaslyn, stepped into a role no child should have to fill. In the midst of unimaginable grief, she launched a GoFundMe campaign to help cover funeral costs and support her 6 younger siblings. The message was raw, heartbreaking, and urgent. My mom was senselessly taken from us. She leaves behind 7 beautiful children who are now facing a future without our mother's warmth, guidance, and unconditional love. The page quickly gained traction, not just from friends and family, but from Gloria's followers across the country. The fitness and wellness community that Gloria had built over the years rallied around her memory. Former clients, podcast listeners, and fellow influencers flooded social media with tributes, heartbreak, and outrage. Many couldn't believe it. Gloria, so strong, so vibrant, so committed to lifting others, was gone. And the person who took her life was someone she had once trusted most. The public response was swift and emotional. On platforms like Instagram and TikTok, users reposted her old videos, leaving messages like, "You didn't deserve this, and thank you for your strength. We see you now more than ever." Meanwhile, Hector Garduno's family was also reeling. A dedicated father of 4, Hector had been known for his quiet devotion and tireless work ethic. His daughters, now left without a parent, were caught in a tragedy they had no part in. His family released a statement expressing deep sorrow and calling for greater awareness of domestic violence's far-reaching consequences. Like Gloria's loved ones, they emphasized that Hector's death wasn't random. It was the collateral damage of a man's escalating control and rage. Both families came forward to demand stronger legal protections for victims trying to escape abuse. Gloria had done what so many survivors are told to do. She left. She filed a restraining order. She spoke up. She stayed visible. And still, she was hunted, ambushed, and killed. The sentiment echoed through news reports and social feeds alike. She followed the rules. The system didn't protect her. Advocates, too, weighed in, pointing to a growing pattern. Women at greatest risk of being murdered not while enduring abuse, but while trying to leave. It's in those moments, when a victim finally breaks away, that many abusers strike hardest. Gloria's death wasn't just a personal loss. It became a symbol of a broader crisis, one that continues to cost lives every day across America. Do you think restraining orders alone are enough to stop violent partners? Let us know in the comments. Your thoughts matter, and your voice might help someone else. As the days passed, the headlines faded. But for Gloria and Hector's families, the aftermath never would. Their grief would settle into daily life. Empty chairs at dinner, unread messages, birthdays missed forever. And for the children left behind, the trauma of losing a parent in such a public, brutal way would become something they carried for the rest of their lives. They are now the legacy of what happens when systems fail, when warnings go unheeded, and when victims are forced to live, and sometimes die, without the protection they deserve. Gloria Zamora did everything survivors are told to do. She left her abuser. She spoke out publicly. She filed for a restraining order. She stayed visible, vocal, and determined to reclaim her life. But it still wasn't enough. What happened to Gloria is a tragic reminder that leaving doesn't always end the danger. Sometimes it escalates it. According to the CDC, the most lethal point in an abusive relationship is when the victim tries to leave. That's when control begins to slip and violence often follows. Gloria's murder exposes a harsh truth. Legal protections are only as effective as the systems that enforce them. Temporary restraining orders without urgent intervention and follow-through can't stop a determined abuser, especially one with a history of stalking, access to firearms, and an obsession with control. Her public strength, the polished Instagram posts, the empowering messages, masked to private war most people never saw. But it's one that countless women fight every day. Gloria's story isn't just heartbreaking, it's instructive. It reveals the deadly gap between what victims are advised to do and what actually keeps them safe. And unless that gap is closed, more lives will be lost. Gloria Zamora should be remembered for far more than the way her life ended. She was a mother of 7, a businesswoman, and a powerful voice for self-worth and strength. Her mission was to uplift others, even as she fought quiet battles behind the scenes. She transformed pain into purpose, building a platform that inspired thousands. Hector Garduno, too, leaves behind a legacy of commitment as a father, a friend, and a partner who believed in Gloria's vision. His life was stolen in an act of senseless violence he never could have predicted. Now, 11 children are left to navigate a future without their parents. Their loss is unimaginable, and it demands that we do better. We owe it to Gloria, to Hector, and to all victims of intimate partner violence to recognize the signs, support survivors, and demand real change in how these cases are handled. Because behind every smiling post, every strong voice, there may be someone silently asking for help. If someone you know is in danger, don't wait. Call the National Domestic Violence Hotline. And if stories like this matter to you, help us expose them. Like, comment, and subscribe to Crime Scene Exposed.